Razorblade Tears was the first book I read in February, and I just knew it was going to be my favorite of that month until another book came along, but this one was a close second. I really, really enjoyed this book. Hey friend, welcome. It's Michaela, but you can call me Mac. Today we're going to be setting up my February reading journal spreads. Let's just jump right into it. Before I get into the description of this book, and although I really, really did enjoy this, I just wanted to remind you, friend, be sure to check your content warnings. This book deals with heavy topics such as hate crime, homophobia, racial slurs, gun violence, racism, murder. Like, it's all in this book. So with that being said, here's a brief description of Razorblade Tears. A black father, a white father, two murdered sons in a quest for vengeance, heavy on the vengeance. Ike Randolph has been out of jail for 15 years, with not so much as a speeding ticket in all that time, but a black man with cops at his door knows to be afraid. The last thing he expected to hear is that his son Isaiah has been murdered along with Isaiah's white husband Derek. Ike had never fully accepted his son, but is devastated by his loss. Derek's father, Buddy Lee, was almost as ashamed of Derek for being gay as Derek was ashamed his father was a criminal. Buddy Lee still has contacts in the underworld, though he wants to know who killed his boy. Ike and Buddy Lee, two ex-cons with little else in common other than a criminal past and a love for their dead sons, band together in their desperate desire for revenge in their quest to do better for their sons in death than they did in life. Hardened men like Ike and Buddy Lee will confront their own prejudices about their sons and each other as they rain down vengeance upon those who hurt their boys. This book was insanely good and super unexpected on my part. I thought that I was going to be in for a cry fest. I was ready to just bawl my eyes out throughout the entire book, but even just reading the description now, like, I should have known what I was getting myself into. I thought the book was going to be more focused on Isaiah and Derek's relationship, and even though it is kind of about them, Buddy Lee and Ike are the main characters, and they are just two grieving fathers with a thirst for vengeance, and I was just cheering for them throughout the entire book. It was just so good. I love seeing their journey of like grief and regret and kind of growth. Their character development was so beautiful, and them kind of addressing their regrets that they had with their relationships with their son and the relationship between Ike and Buddy, like seeing that personal relationship grow. It just, I don't know, I was just not expecting a fast-paced, action-packed, like hard-hitting book. I just thought it was gonna be a lot more emotional. And although I did end up shedding a tear at some point in the book, it was not the cry fest I was hoping I was going to get out of this book, but this book was just simply amazing. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. I loved it so much, and I would recommend it again. 100%. Be sure to check the content warnings because it's heavy. I'm not gonna hold you. It's very heavy, but the book was done very beautifully. Speaking of books that tackle heavy topics beautifully, this brings me to my favorite book of the month, Before I Let Go, was just a masterpiece. First of all, my idea for this book, okay, the woman on this cover has a beautiful big afro, and I was like, ooh, I kind of want to make that 3D. Like, what if I used hair to like recreate that? So I grabbed some hair from the beauty store and attempted to make this afro. Oh my god, I don't think this is gonna work. All right, I think I'm gonna just go for it because I really don't know what else to do. Anyway, let me just tell you about the book's description. Their love was supposed to last forever, but when life delivered blow after devastating blow, Yasmin and Josiah Wade found that love alone couldn't solve or save everything. It couldn't save their marriage. Yasmin wasn't prepared for how her life fell apart, but she is finally starting to find joy again. She and Josiah have found a new rhythm, co-parenting their 2 children and running a thriving business. Yet, like magnets, they're always drawn back to each other, and now they're beginning to wonder if they're truly ready to let go of everything they once had. Soon, one stolen kiss leads to another, and then more. It's hot, it's illicit, it's all good until old wounds reopen. Is it too late for them to find forever, or could they even be better the second time around? This book was absolutely an emotional roller coaster that left me breathless. Miss Kennedy Ryan, girl, you know how to write a character. Once again, friend, please be sure to check your content warnings. Yasmin and Josiah's story tackle real life situations from loss, family loss, the aftermath of navigating a divorce while managing their shared business, co-parenting their children. Kennedy Ryan wrote about these topics with such grace and rawness that you can't help but be swept away by the beauty of it all. The way that she paints this journey of like this mature Black couple navigating through life post divorce is just so beautiful. Like the characters, the story, it all felt so real, and some of the moments even felt really private, but everything was just handled with such care, and I am so excited to read more of her books. I enjoyed seeing the parents trying to heal their relationships with their children, and the discussion of like therapy and this whole stigma that Black men and the Black community as a general have about therapy. I ate this book up. The chemistry between Josiah and Yasmin, ooh, it's like a magnet that pulls you into the story. It's not just a love story. It's a tale of healing, growth, rediscovery. I was so invested, and now I am on a quest to just devour second chance romances. Like that's all I want to read now. And of course, I plan to absolutely inhale all of Kennedy Ryan's other books because this book was so beautiful. It does not shy away from the heavy stuff. It's filled with humor and these real life like laugh out loud moments. I was kikiing with her and her girlfriends. Like it was funny. I was screaming, I was gasping, I was gagging, like I was going through all of the emotions that you possibly could while reading a book, and it was just everything. It was absolutely everything. Emotionally charged, beautifully messy love stories. Yeah, this was great. This was absolutely great. Okay, although I like how this page turned out with the hair and the little jewels in the afro, I think this is gorgeous. I didn't quite think about what this was gonna be like when the book closed, so it's a little thick. It's a little thick, but so far I don't think it's going to affect how I set up other pages in the future, hopefully, fingers crossed. But anyway, yes, I definitely recommend this book. It's so good. So one of my themes for February was reading about Black women being in love. So to continue that, I read 2 more romance books. One of them was called The Romantic Agenda, and the other one was called Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell. I got these really cute mushroom girly stickers at a con a couple of weeks ago from Sugarlish. I'll be sure to link their Instagram down below so you can go check them out. And I really wanted to do like this collage theme instead of making the pages kind of look like the covers of the book, which I usually try to do in my spreads. These books did not really live up to my expectations, but they were still okay books. So starting off, the description for Romantic Agenda says, Joy is in love with Malcolm, but Malcolm really likes Summer. Summer is in love with Love, and Fox is Summer's ex-boyfriend. 30, flirty, and asexual, Joy is secretly in love with her best friend Malcolm, but she's never been brave enough to say so. When he unexpectedly announces that he's met the love of his life, and no, it's not Joy, she's heartbroken. Malcolm invites her on a weekend getaway, and Joy decides it's her last chance to show him exactly what he's overlooking. But maybe Joy is the one missing something, or someone, and his name is Fox. Fox sees a kindred spirit in Joy and decides to help her. He proposes that they pretend to fall for each other on the weekend trip to make Malcolm jealous. But spending time with Fox shows Joy what it's like to not be the third wheel, and there's no mistaking the way he makes her feel. Could Fox be the romantic partner she's always deserved? So I had really high expectations for this book because of the promising representation of asexuality. I believe this is the first book that I've read where the main character is openly ace. And as someone who's not a part of that community, I personally felt like this book does a commendable job delving into the experiences of being on the ace spectrum. There There are quite a few reviews from people who identify as aro ace that said that this book does a really good job with representation, which I would have to agree with, but the overall story left me with mixed feelings. The highlight of the book for me was the exploration of asexuality through the main character Joy and her best friend Malcolm. Their differing experiences within the ace spectrum really sheds light on the diversity of asexuality, specifically highlighting Joy and Malcolm's different views and experiences when it comes to being in a relationship, physical intimacy, etc. However, despite the positive representation, the characters really fell flat to me. When it comes to Joy, I feel like the author wanted us to be like, ooh, she's quirky, she's fun, she's different than everybody else. But sometimes she came off as somewhat whiny and kind of childish, and honestly, so does Malcolm. Malcolm was selfish and controlling, and like, I could not understand why this girl was in love with him. Many times in the book, we're told that Malcolm has done XYZ for Joy in the past, but we never really get to see that in active voice. And Summer and Malcolm's romantic interest didn't really feel authentic. Fox was probably my favorite character in this group, even though he wasn't really fleshed out that well. The story became bogged down by conversation and very little action. And if you know me, you know I hate the miscommunication trope, but this was like over communication. It was just like talk. This book takes place on a lake house at a lake. It's like a little long weekend getaway. And although you have like a few parts of them enjoying the scenery, there's not much action. It's just like Summer wants to talk to Joy wants to talk to Malcolm, Joy wants to talk to Fox doesn't really talk. Like, it's just like everybody wants to just yap, run their yappers and not actually do anything in this book. I don't know, despite its commendable aspects, it just did not captivate me, so I gave it 3 stars. I also read Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell. This is a sexy romance about a plus-size sweetheart who gets a full life makeover after a brutal breakup and falls for the incredibly hot contractor renovating her home. Savvy Sheldon spends a lot of time tiptoeing around the cracks in her life, her high stress and low thanks job, her clueless boyfriend, and the falling apart kitchen she inherited from her beloved grandmother, who taught her how to cook and how to love people by feeding them. But when Savvy's world starts to crash down around her, she knows it's time for some renovations. Starting from the outside in, Savvy tackles her crumbling kitchen, her relationship with her body, her work-life balance or lack thereof, and last but not least, her love life. The only thing that doesn't seem to require effort is her ride or die squad of friends. But as any home reno show junkie can tell you, something always falls apart during renovations. First, Savvy passes out during hot yoga. I'm reading this description and realizing just how much of the book they put in this description. Like, dang, just tell us the book, why don't you? Okay, let me keep going. First, Savvy passes out during hot yoga. Then it turns out that the contractor that she hired is the same sexy stranger she unintentionally offended by judging based on appearances. Worst of all, Savvy can't seem to go anywhere without tripping over her ex and his latest upgrade. Savvy begins to realize that maybe she should have started her renovations the other way around, beginning with how she sees herself before building a love that lasts. Okay. I thought this book was going to be a journey of self-discovery for Savvy, dealing with her breakup, renovating her kitchen, and embracing and loving herself as the plus-size queen that she is. However, the storyline took an unexpected turn as Savvy became fixated on achieving a revenge body because her trash ex-boyfriend called her fat and broke up with her. This led to an intense focus on Savvy's workout struggles and body transformation, with her bumping into her ex-boyfriend and his new partners becoming a reoccurring theme in this book. Instead of the body positive book I thought I was getting, this kind of delved into like this unhealthy territory of seeking validation through physically changing yourself for a person, which is absolutely ridiculous. The few things that I did like about this book were Savvy's relationship with her uncle and her friends. It was warm, it was authentic, I really appreciated that. I also loved how the ending when it came to her job was more realistic. It wasn't like this happily ever after ending where she quit her job to pursue her passion that's not really paying her any money. It was refreshing to see her call out her company for being toxic and telling them that they're burning people out, people are having to take extended leave or they're finding other positions, and really calling them out and holding their feet to the fire and saying, like, you need to have a better work-life balance in this company, and I'm happy to try to incorporate my passion to help with that. But friend, let me tell you, the way that Savvy treated Spencer, the main love interest who's also like the head contractor on her kitchen renovation, was just absolutely ridiculous. He genuinely cared for her, he supported her, he was checking for her when she was still in a relationship, and she was moving weird. She was not really giving him a chance. It was just, there was a lot of things that was going on that was just like really weird with that. And also, first of all, when she first met him, she thought that he was homeless, which is just a really weird thing to assume about somebody that you're first meeting for the first time. And it was a reoccurring joke between her and her friends throughout the entire book. It was like, this is getting really, really old. Anyway, overall, the moments of laughter, the realistic depiction of like the challenges of juggling a day job and pursuing one's passion were highlights of the book to me. But the underlying fat shaming and Savvy's inconsistent characterizations really affected the overall impact of the book, so I gave it 3.25 stars. And last but not least, I listened to the audiobook of None of This Is True. This is a mystery thriller book, so I won't talk too much about my thoughts because I don't want to spoil anything. But here's a brief description of the book. Celebrating her 45th birthday at a local pub, popular podcaster Alex Summers crosses paths with an unassuming woman called Josie Fair. Josie, it turns out, is also celebrating her 45th birthday. They are, in fact, birthday twins. A few days later, Alex and Josie bump into each other again, this time outside of Alex's children's school. Josie has begun listening to Alex's podcasts and thinks she might be an interesting subject for her series. She tells Alex, on the cusp of a great change in her life. Josie's life appears to be strange and complicated, and although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep making the podcast. Slowly, she starts to realize that Josie has been hiding some very dark secrets, and before she knows it, Josie has inveigled her way into Alex's life and into her home. But as quickly as she arrived, Josie disappears. Only then does Alex discover that Josie has left a terrible and terrifying legacy in her wake, that Alex has become the subject of her own true crime podcast with her life and her family's lives under the mortal throat. Who is Josie Fair and what has she done? I finished this book in like 2 or 3 days. It is a gripping thriller with clips in like a podcast format style, which just really adds like a dynamic layer to the narrative. So I definitely recommend listening to the audiobook. The fast-paced storytelling and the use of like multiple accounts from different witnesses, it is just really skillfully done and narrated in the audiobook, and it kind of creates this like immersive experience. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars just because of my personal preference of something that happens at the end. I really like to have all questions kind of answered, and I don't think that really happened with this book. So yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars, but otherwise it was a really good book. And again, the audiobook was, I think, very well done. Once again, for my monthly wrap up, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm loving the way that these pages are turning out. So first off, I gave one book 3 stars, one book 3.25 stars, and one book 4.5 stars, and I gave 2 books 5 stars. I also had 3 top genre for this month. I read 3 romance books, 2 mystery thriller books, and 1 book that was in the LGBTQIA+ genre. I read 949 pages and 24 hours of audiobook, and my favorite for the month was Before I Let Go, but a very close second was Razorblade Tears. That book was also very amazing. And my least favorite book was The Romantic Agenda, and that's simply because it was the lowest rated this month, but it's still an okay book. And here's a final flip through for February. I read every single day except for 2 days. I bought 3 books in February and spent $32.34, and I added them to my personal library page. My favorite for February is going to be Before I Let Go. I'm still holding off on filling out my bracket, but that one was definitely my favorite. And I'm making progress on my 30 before 30. I read Before I Let Go and Razorblade Tears, both 5 stars. This hair, y'all, this book is not gonna ever close fully anymore. Thank you so much for watching, friend. As always, I really, really appreciate you. If you want to see how my January reading wrap up went, I will link that video right here on the left hand side of the page, and I will see you over there. Bye.